We all love making fun of horror movie characters. Just leave the house. Bro, don't go in the basement. Why did you split up like Scooby Doo? But let's be honest with ourselves for just 1 second. You really think you wouldn't check out that weird noise in your attic at 3 a.m.? Please. I literally did that last week because my dog farted in my bed, and I've seen almost every horror movie made. That's not even a joke. I've counted, it's over 2,000. But today I have 10 horror movie decisions we love to make fun of, but let's face it, we absolutely would make them too. And the most crazy one, it's way more relatable than you're gonna wanna admit in the comments. Listen, I know you guys. I can already see you typing, not me though, I'm built different in the comments. Well, hit the like button and subscribe. And for all you brave souls out there who want more horror videos, join my Patreon for weekly premium videos. Just don't blame me when I start talking about monsters you're not gonna survive. Let's start with the horror movie decision that literally every single one of us would make, investigating weird noises. And don't even try to deny this one. Look, we've all been there. It's 3 a.m., you're doom scrolling on Instagram, Reels, or TikTok, and suddenly you hear something that sounds like someone dragging a body down the hallway. The smart thing to do would be to ignore it, right? But no. Your brain immediately goes, well, I need to check that out. Let's talk about 3 movies where this brilliant decision went actually as well as you'd expect. First up, Jeepers Creepers. My guy Gary really said, hey, I just saw someone dumping what looks like bodies down a pipe. I should definitely stick my head in there. And you know what? I get it. If I saw someone yeet what looked like a body into a mysterious pipe, my stupid ass would also go, well, I gotta go look. This decision basically entered him into the world's worst game of hide and seek with the creeper. Then we've got The Descent, where a group of cave explorers hear strange noises echoing through an unmapped cave system and think, yeah, let's go towards that. To be fair, they were already pretty deep in the caves, but maybe, just maybe, weird echoing shouting noises should be treated as a turn around and get the fuck out of there sign and not a let's investigate invitation. But no, they just had to know what was making those sounds. Spoiler alert, it wasn't the Easter Bunny. And finally, my personal favorite, one of my favorite horror movies out there, Sinister. Ellison hears noises in his attic and finds murder films. Not just regular murder films, Super 8 snuff films. And what does he do? Sits down and watches them all. I love how he doesn't even consider calling the police at first. Nope, just gonna watch these mysterious murder movies I found in my murder house attic. Really 5-head galaxy brain move there, buddy. But here's the thing, we can laugh all we want, but every single one of us would investigate that weird noise. Why? Because the alternative is lying in bed wondering what it was, and our brains absolutely hate not knowing things. It's like when you hear your phone buzz at night. You know it's probably nothing important, but you're still gonna check it just in case it's your ex from 5 years ago wanting to get back with you. It's time to move on, buddy. But if you think investigating strange noises is bad, wait until you hear about the next brilliant decision everyone makes in horror movies. Splitting up to search for more cover more ground. Because apparently, safety in numbers is just a suggestion. Let's split up, gang. The famous last words of every horror movie character who thought they were the main character. It's literally the first rule of horror movies. Don't split up. Scooby Doo taught us that when we were kids. Yet here we are watching people divide themselves into fun-sized snacks for the killer. Scream turned this into a masterclass of bad decisions. You've got a killer in a ghost mask literally announcing they're going to murder everyone, and what's the response? Let's separate so we're easier to kill. The best part is always how they justify it. We can cover more ground. Cover more ground for what? Your own crime scene? Even better, they always split into the classic horror movie pairs. The couple that's definitely gonna go make out and then die, and the final girl who has to deal with their stupid decisions. Friday the 13th saw this brilliant strategy and thought, how can we make this worse? These counselors hear about Camp Crystal Lake's murder curse and decide the perfect response is to scatter across the campground like they're playing the world's deadliest game of hide and seek. Mrs. Voorhees didn't need a complex murder plan. These kids were practically gift wrapping themselves for her. Oh, you're a mysterious killer who's been picking us off one by one? Let me just wander off alone to this conveniently isolated cabin. But the Texas Chainsaw Massacre really deserves a special award here. Your car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, Texas. Already a horror movie red flag. Your friend in a wheelchair literally just got stabbed by a random person you picked up on the road, and everyone decides to go on their own separate adventures to a creepy old house. One guy hears a generator running in a mysterious house and thinks, yeah, I would like to check that out. Spoiler alert, it wasn't the fucking Easter bunny. It was Leatherface, and he was not giving you any eggs. But the most annoying part, I did this exact thing last week when my power went out. You check the basement, I'll check upstairs, because if there is a killer in the house, making sure all the lights work is definitely the priority. We're all just future horror movie victims waiting for our moment. But if you really think splitting up is dumb, wait until you see how people react to obvious warnings, because apparently people seem to treat death-related red flags like they do on dating apps. They just don't care. I was talking to a friend recently and they put this in the most perfect way possible. Horror movie characters treat warnings like we treat the terms and conditions. They just scroll right past and click, I agree to die horribly. And the more specific the warning, the more determined they are to ignore it. The Blair Witch Project is the perfect example of what happens when you treat local legends like 1-star Yelp reviews. The entire town is giving them literally a PowerPoint presentation about death in those woods. People vanish there. We hear screaming at night. There's an actual witch. And these filmmakers are just taking notes like, great. So that's where we should set up camp, huh? Then they find those creepy stick figures in the woods. These are literal death threats in IKEA format, and then they treat them like they're forced decorations. Oh look, free art. No, that's the Blair Witch's version of save the date for your funeral. But the Amityville horror takes ignored warnings to new heights. The Lutz family moves into a house where the previous owner murdered his entire family, and they're just treating it like it's a quirky bit of real estate history. The walls are bleeding? Must be a plumbing issue. The priest runs out vomiting? Bad seafood, obviously. A voice is telling them to get out? Probably just the neighbors being passive aggressive. When your house is giving you more red flags than your ex's dating history, maybe it's time to take the hint. But Cabin in the Woods is the gold medalist of ignored warnings. This gas station attendant is practically doing interpretive dance to tell them they are going to die. He's one step away from skywriting, turned back in the clouds. And these kids are just like, lol, weird dude. Then they get to this cabin that looks like it was decorated by a guy who goes around murdering people on the weekend. Then they find a diary bound in human skin and decide to read it out loud. Because apparently a book that's literally screaming, do not read me, is just a spicy bedtime story. But the worst part about this, I ignored my check engine light for 6 months because it's probably fine. And I know many people watching probably just see their change oil light as an optional thing as well. We're all horror movie characters in training. But if ignoring warnings is stupid, wait until you see how these characters trust complete strangers. Because apparently, a mysterious invitation from someone you haven't seen in 15 years is just Facebook events in real life. Horror movie characters have the survival instincts of a moth flying directly into a bug zapper. If someone's giving off enough red flags to supply a communist parade, that's their cue to get closer. Fresh is basically How to Get Murdered 101. Noah meets Steve at a grocery store, and he's hitting every serial killer stereotype bingo square. Handsome doctor with no social media presence who wants to whisk you away to a remote location. That's not a date, that's the start of a true crime podcast. But he makes cute jokes and he has good teeth. So obviously he can't be running an underground meat market for rich cannibals. I'm gonna be the narrator right now. He was definitely running an underground meat market for rich cannibals. Get Out watches Chris walk straight into the most suspicious family gathering since the Manson family reunion. The girlfriend's family is acting like aliens who learned human behavior from a WikiHow article. The groundskeeper is giving him run for your life vibes, and the maid looks like she's being remote controlled by a bad Wi-Fi connection. But they're rich and serving fancy tea, so how bad could it actually be? Turns out it's body snatching bad. The invitation is what happens when you don't block your exes on social media. Will gets invited to a dinner party by his ex-wife, already a horror movie red flag the size of Texas, and finds everyone there acting like they're in a cult recruitment video. The hosts are pushing weird drinks, showing death appreciation videos, and talking about their totally not a cult self-help group. But instead of running away, everyone's sitting there like, maybe this is just how people party in Hollywood Hills now. Spoiler, it's not a party. It's a cult massacre. But nobody saw that coming. The worst part, last week I bought a sketchy phone charger from a guy in a parking lot because he seemed trustworthy. It fried my phone. We're all just one charming stranger away from being a cautionary tale. But if trusting strangers is bad, wait until you see how these people handle weapons, because apparently when your life depends on it, that's the perfect time to forget how basic tools work. Horror movie characters treat weapons like I treat my New Year's resolutions. They know they exist, but somehow never use them. There's a whole garage full of tools, but no, let's go with the classic trip and scream defense strategy. The Blair Witch Project is what happens when a granola girl has a nightmare. These geniuses march into murder entire woods with a camera, some snacks, and the confidence of a mediocre white man. No weapons, no compass, and not even a decent flashlight. They brought enough film to document their own deaths in IMAX quality, but couldn't grab a single pocket knife, which would arguably be useful in a forest for cutting branches down. When your only defense against an ancient evil witch is aggressive cinematography, maybe it's time to rethink your career choices. Your next starts almost reasonably. It's just a family dinner. Why would we need weapons? But then masked killers show up, and everyone keeps acting like they're a particularly aggressive dinner theater. They're in a rich person's house with a kitchen that probably costs more than my life insurance, but apparently those fancy Japanese knives are just decorative. Thank God for Erin, who decides that actually she'd prefer not to die today and turns the place into Home Alone Homicide Edition. But A Quiet Place really showcases the gold standard of being unprepared. These people know sound hunting monsters are everywhere. Their entire survival strategy is don't make noise. Yet their backup plan when things inevitably go wrong is hope really hard. They've got a soundproof basement and sand paths, but maybe set up some more noise traps. We only saw like 2 in the whole movie. Maybe some emergency weapons all across the house. Maybe live beside a waterfall. You know, anything besides die quietly. When your survival strategy has fewer backup plans than my Netflix password, you might be in trouble. Honestly though, the worst part, I once tried to fight a fly by throwing whipped cream at it because I was too lazy to go get the bug spray. So can I really blame these people? But you know, if being unprepared is bad, wait until you see what happens when these idiots find cursed books, because apparently ancient tomes bound in human skin are just spicy bedtime reading, as I said before. Horror movie characters treat cursed books like they're reading the iTunes agreement. Just scroll to the bottom and accept whatever demon's about to possess them. If a book is literally bleeding and screaming, "Don't read me," that's their cue for a dramatic reading session. Evil Dead takes us into an art form. Eric finds the Naturum de Momoto, a book wrapped in barbed wire, bound in human skin, and literally written in blood. Any normal person would see this and think, yeah, that's a nope for me. But Eric, nah. He just really likes reading and wanted to know what was inside. Bro really said, this is gonna be a fun Saturday night. Even better, he doesn't just read it. He reads it out loud, because apparently demon summoning needs a proper audiobook version. Spoiler, the reviews are killer. The Ninth Gate has Johnny Depp's character treating Satan's personal library like it's a Barnes & Noble clearance sale. He's hunting down books that can literally summon the devil. And he's handling them with less caution than I use checking my work emails. Every single previous owner has died horribly. Must be a coincidence. Let's keep reading these clearly cursed books while drinking alone at night. What could possibly go wrong? But In the Mouth of Madness really takes the cake though. Sutter Kane's books are literally driving people insane and reshaping reality. People are growing extra eyes, cities are turning into nightmare dimensions, and readers are forming murder cults. But everyone keeps reading them just as intensely as everyone watching this video's moms did when 50 Shades of Grey was first released. When your book club turns into a portal to hell, maybe it's time to switch who you spend time around. But the worst part, last week I definitely clicked on a link and I read through an entire sketchy website because it said warning, shocking content. It was just like a photo of a cat, but like, you know, we're all one forbidden text away from accidentally summoning something we can't unsummon. If I literally say, do not like and subscribe to this channel, you will do both those things just because you want to prove me wrong. But you know, if reading books is stupid, wait till you see how people handle obvious threats. Because apparently when something's actively trying to kill you, that's the perfect time to say, it's probably nothing. Horror movie characters treat death threats like I treat my dating red flags. Just pretend they don't exist and hope for the best. Giant monster eating the town? It's just a bear. Alien invasion? Weather balloons. Serial killer? Just an enthusiastic Amazon delivery guy. Bird Box shows peak denial energy. People are literally yeeting themselves out of windows after seeing something, and everyone's first response is, must be some new dumb TikTok challenge. The entire street looks like a mass unalive themselves flash mob, and these geniuses are still checking Twitter for updates. When your neighbors start doing synchronized window diving, maybe that's your cue to grab a blindfold and run, not post about it on Instagram. Jaws is basically capitalism versus common sense, the movie. The mayor watches a girl become shark takeout, and his response, but think about the beach economy. This man's watching his people get turned into human sushi, and he's worried about his tourist reviews. The shark's out there treating his beach like an all-you-can-eat buffet, and my man's primary concern is the summer festival, because apparently a few tourist dollars for one season are worth playing guess who's getting eaten next. But the thing really takes the crown though. The scientists find a shape-shifting alien that can perfectly mimic humans, and their response is to keep hanging out together like it's a corporate retreat. Your colleague's head just detached hatched and grew spider legs? Probably just workplace stress. The dog's acting weird? Must need a vet. When your coworker's face splits open like a ripe avocado, maybe that's time for a remote work day. But the worst part though, last week I ignored my car making a noise like a dying whale because I said, you know what? It'll probably fix itself. Yeah, it did not fix itself. The engine actually exploded. But if underestimating threats is dumb, wait to see what happens when these idiots try to be heroes. Because apparently when running away is an option, that's the perfect time to win some Nobel Peace Prize award. Horror movie characters treat heroism like I treat my confidence levels. I don't have any, but when someone brings up that one weird niche subject, I go all out. Nothing says future victim quite like running back into your killer's lair because you dropped your phone or left your hat. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is what happens when hero complex meets terminal stupidity. These college kids see two hillbillies who they think have kidnapped their friend. Instead of calling the police, they launch Operation Let's Do It Ourselves and rescue her. Every rescue attempt ends as someone accidentally unaliving themselves in increasingly crazy ways. It's like watching a group project where everyone's competing for the most dramatic failure award, but the miss takes terrible decisions to an art form. David sees some fog monsters and decides, I'm gonna save my son from being eaten by shooting him myself. My brother in Christ. Maybe just wait longer than 5 minutes before implementing your own weird complex speedrun thingy. The military shows up moments later, making this one of the most worst timing instances in cinematic history. And I Am Legend watches Will Smith throw away 3 years of perfect survival because he can't resist an obvious trap. This man has survived a vampire zombie apocalypse by following strict rules, but suddenly decides, you know what this obviously suspicious situation needs? More me. He had a fortress, a dog, and fresh bacon. The apocalypse trifecta. But no, let's risk it all for the world's most obvious ambush. When your rescue mission looks more staged than a reality TV show, maybe sit this one out. But if playing the hero is bad, wait to see how these people handle basic safety rules. Because apparently, when your life depends on following simple protocols, that's the perfect time to get experimental. Horror movie characters treat safety protocols like I treat my gym membership. Acknowledge they exist, then completely ignore them. Nothing says future casualty quite like treating quarantine procedures as life hacks. Alien is what happens when space explorers treat safety protocols like terms and conditions. They have one job: don't let unknown organisms on the ship. So when they find a mysterious egg-laying space monster, Kane's like, let me put my face right next to it for better lighting. The quarantine protocol might as well have been written in emojis. Meanwhile, Ripley, the only person with more brain cells than a potato, gets treated like she's paranoid for not wanting an alien pandemic, because apparently basic survival instincts are just workplace buzzkill. Jurassic Park watches Nedry disable every safety system in a dinosaur park for what's essentially prehistoric egg delivery. My brother in Christ, you're turning off the only thing keeping T-Rexes from becoming their own Nikocado avocado food review channel. This man looked at a park full of apex predators and thought, needs more chaos. It's like disabling your home security during a purge because Uber Eats is outside. But the Andromeda strain really sets the gold standard though. These scientists are handling a space virus that kills faster than my last date ghosted me, and they're treating safety protocols like their YouTube premium pop-ups. One guy skips decontamination because he's running late. Buddy, the alien virus isn't going to reschedule because of your time management issues. The worst part though, yesterday I ignored microwaving instructions for food because I said, how hard can it be? Well, there's noodles on my ceiling. So yeah. And that's 10 way horror movie characters make decisions that we would absolutely make too. Let's be honest, we're all just one weird noise away from investigating the basement with nothing but our phone flashlight and the audacity. If you've enjoyed me watching roast both horror movies and my own life choices, hit the like button and subscribe. Or don't, but that's definitely a bad horror movie decision if you catch my drift. And check out this playlist right here called Horror Movies You Have Zero Chance Surviving, because if you thought these decisions were bad, wait until you see how you're never going to survive encountering these horror movies anyways. Trust me, it gets worse.